Whoa! Things got a little bit crazy out there, huh guys? Yeah, I should have thought through camera placement, but I just thought I could roll with it, and didn't work out so well. So as you can see, there's some scratches on the coating, and it's also just got kind of more of a, yeah, quite a bit of wear on the coating there going through that cardboard, and just kind of duller, you know. Definitely saw quite a bit of use. Looks like, yeah, I'm actually able to kind of rub it off on my thumb here, some of that coating that's coming off. The lockup moved actually quite a bit. So the lockup is further engaged. Before it was just about flush with the side of the tang. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but it's moved over quite a bit. The reason for that is, you know, there's a lot of force going down, cutting through that cardboard. That was some thick cardboard right there. The edge has some chips, which I find pretty interesting. In fact, it's pretty bad actually. Right here, which is where most of the cutting actually took place, just because that's kind of where the knife settled in. So like this section right here, that is just toothy and chewed up. The rest seems about how it was before. But yeah, right there, super chewed up. It doesn't look like it's rolled or chipped per se. It just looks like that cardboard ate up the edge of the blade. So you can get a closer look. You can kind of see it there. Right along this area. Just chewed it up. Like I said before, minor chip out of the tip. It's still pretty pointy. There's not really even a point in doing this. Yeah, look. It won't... Oh, it did catch a little piece. So there is some sections that still can cut. Let's try some thicker paper here. So here's notebook paper. Yeah, which I knew was going to be the case. I knew that was going to happen. I could tell going through the cardboard. You know, it got to a point where literally it felt like I was just shoving a thin piece of steel through the cardboard. It was no longer a knife. It was just a skinny piece of steel, and I was, you know, just having to use more and more force to get through. So yeah, I'm gonna sharpen this baby up. We'll get it. Well, I don't know. I'll decide. I don't know. Maybe I better sharpen it up. I mean, it's pretty much no good right now, other than some blunt force cutting. But, so in conclusion, what this test really taught me, I've never really tried to take down that many boxes with a knife before. So what this tells me is that there's a reason that a specific tool is invented for such actions called a box cutter. And I know us knife guys like to parade our super fancy steels and cut things with that. Fact of the matter is, cutting cardboard like that is just brutal on a blade. And the reason they invented a box cutter is because you can quickly and easily replace the blade with an inexpensive one, because you're going to go through a lot. Whereas with a knife like this, now I have to go and spend quite a bit of time and effort getting this back to where it was. Whereas a box cutter, throw the blade away, throw in a new one, it's good to go. So, moral of the story, pocket knives, fixed blades, you know, not the best for doing things like that. I would use the specific tool for that particular action if you can. But it's still kind of fun to test. And ultimately, I don't, you know, obviously I don't have numbers for this, but if this was 154 cm, I have a feeling I wouldn't have told the difference. Wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. You know, technically, if I did side by side, maybe I would have gotten more cuts out of this. But at the end of the day, I got through my cardboard, and it just progressively got harder. I think a lesser steel, maybe it would have gotten a little harder earlier on, but it wouldn't have made a difference in the scope of the task. So, but yeah, so that's how this did, cutting through all that cardboard. And that was, you saw that cardboard, that was nasty cardboard. And there was tape, and, you know, luckily I didn't run into any steel. There were some staples, those big huge staples in there, but I made sure and I was clear of that. On kind of the boxes where I was just cutting corners, you know, where it's creased, went through really well. But because of the size of some of that, I had to tack it just right through the thick of it, right down the middle, and that's what really tore this blade apart, having to cut through that there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and resharpen this, and then maybe I'll do an update on how it looks after, how much effort it took to get it sharpened and stuff like that. But yeah, so that concludes the first, oh yeah, and then I did the little accidental drop there. Didn't appear to do a single thing. I was gonna, so this is a long video, sorry guys. For future videos, I'm thinking about doing some drop tests with it, you know, just practical drop tests, you know, kind of like you're standing on concrete, go to pull it out of your pocket, so about stomach height for me, do some drop tests, maybe drop it this way, and, you know, a couple different ways, make sure that it can handle that kind of impact. I was also thinking of a few more things I wanted to do. I was thinking about doing some drop tests with the blade open into wood. You know, some people suggested actually trying to do some prying. I don't think I would do that because, you know, this tip is not, it can't handle that, it will snap. But I think, you know, it'd be good to know if this were to drop and kind of land in something soft, maybe at a slight angle, make sure that it could handle, you know, that the tip could handle the stress of its own weight without breaking. I think that would be a good test right there. And then other than that, maybe a mud test, lock-up mud test. Make sure that lockup's still good. Speaking of which, I'm trying to do this without possibility of cutting myself. When I'm putting a good amount of pressure on it, it's not failing. I'm not going to do a spine whack. Those are pointless. But it is holding. The lock is holding very well. There's no play. Slight bit more side to side than it had before. I can tighten that right up. All right, guys. Maybe the next video will go a little bit smoother than this one, but there it is. Alright guys, later. Okay guys, this is the last cut on this video. I promise, I freaking swear. So I just ran some diamond stones on this baby. Got it sharpened, cleaned, oiled. As you can see, it looks a lot better than it did fresh off of the cutting. There's still, you know, a little bit of wear on the coating, but you can see that none of it's actually came off. It's, you know, some scuffing, and it's been thinned, and there is some micro scratches kind of in it, but none of it's actually gone. So that's really good. The tip isn't perfect still, but I didn't want to remove material to get it perfect. I mean, it's still very pointy. I mean, it's not needle pointy like it was, but still very pointy. Got it pretty sharp. You know, as I mentioned, I'm not one of those sharp obsessed guys, but you know, as you can see, slices through magazine paper better than it did when I started. And in fact, it wasn't shaving hair when I started. As you can see, well, if we'd focus, it is shaving hair now. Nice, nice bald spot right there. So yeah, brought it back. Didn't take too long, you know. I just used my Lanky system. I can never say that word. Man, I don't know. I would like to get a Wicked Edge because, you know, my bevel is not perfectly equal anymore. This side is slightly more obtuse than this side. And you know, it's fine for cutting and stuff, but the perfectionist in me would like a perfectly symmetrical secondary bevel. And it's just due to that system. It's not that precise. And so I keep thinking about forking out the cash for a Wicked Edge system, but you know, aside from this experiment and kind of the one I did with the Roadhouse, I really don't have a need for that kind of heavy-duty reprofiling ability. You know, for my actual EDC use, I could just strop that thing for 2 years and it would remain sharp. And then, you know, I could send it into somebody or send it into the factory to get it professionally sharpened. But I do tend to keep wanting to push the envelope with testing knives and stuff, so it would be nice to be able to get a really nice edge. But I mean, it is pretty cool though that you can get something like this. This is just a, you know, a $50 Lanxey diamond system with just the 4 stones, just down to fine. You know, it doesn't have the sapphire stone. You can buy that extra. This is just stock. And you know, in 20 minutes I took this thing from not being able to cut anything to hair shaving sharp. So for a $50 system, that's not bad. You know, it's not perfect, like I said, it's not perfectly equal, but you have to really look close in order to tell, and it really wouldn't affect your usual cutting. All right, guys, that's it. Later.